Eyewitnesses brought reports of Nazi atrocities or horrible occurrences and conditions in Poland to the Allied governments, which were the USA, the Soviet Union or USSR, and England. And these three countries were later harshly criticized because they did very little to respond and help these people. In fact, they did very little to even get the word out that this was going on. Historians believe that most likely the reason that the three major powers refused to do anything at first was that they were more focused on winning the war, and that they were also in denial that such a thing could even happen. At Auschwitz alone, the most well-known concentration camp, more than 2 million people were murdered in a process which resembled large-scale industrial operation. Let me put that into perspective for you. That's like killing enough people to fill a city 9 to 10 times the size of Memphis. That's how bad the Holocaust was. Every day, as many as 12,000 Jewish people were killed at Auschwitz. I want to show you the magnitude of this camp. We're going to watch a short video put out by the British Broadcasting Company, which shows drone footage flying over Auschwitz today. By May of 1945, Germans and their collaborators, or people working with them, had murdered 6 million European Jews. Eventually, the Allied troops, and that is the USA, the Soviet Union, or USSR, and England, began liberating these concentration camps. And when they did, soldiers also found thousands of survivors, people who were still alive. Most were Jewish, but many were non-Jewish. But nearly always they were suffering from starvation and disease. For these survivors, the prospect of rebuilding their lives was daunting. That means difficult and not very good. They had very few possibilities for immigration, which means the ability to move to other countries. So tens of thousands of homeless Holocaust survivors were put in displaced person or DP camps. From 1945 to 1946, the Nuremberg trials took place. These were held by the Allies, USA, USSR, and England, in an effort to punish the villains of the Holocaust. And they found any major Nazi leaders that they could and put them on trial. Adolf Hitler was nowhere to be found, and there are numerous theories about what happened to him, but no one knows for sure. This brought to light the Nazi atrocities that had been going on for the past few years. As people around the world began to notice the difficult situation being faced by the Jewish survivors, they began to place pressure on the Allied powers to create a homeland for these Jewish survivors. So in 1948, there was a mandate or law created that carved out a portion of the area known as Palestine and made it the nation of Israel. This was part of the Israel that you read about in the Bible. Many Jewish survivors had the opportunity to, quote, return home. They had never been to this area, but they knew that their forefathers, going all the way back into biblical times, had lived in this area. And so this was a recreation of ancient Israel. A movie was made in 1960 called Exodus, and this movie portrayed the creation of the new Israel and the movement of many Israeli people back to that area. It tells the story of the Jews who went to the new nation of Israel to create a homeland. We're going to finish up today with a scene in which a young lady who appears to be about your age, named Karen, arrives in the new Israel just in time for a ceremony welcoming her and many of her fellow students.
What's your name? Karen, what's yours? Edna, come, we'll go up and eat something.
If you will please resume a little order, I will introduce a man who has done more than any other to establish our village of Gandafna. Only 10 days ago, he was in London, negotiating with the British. Today, he is home again. I have the honor to present Mr. Barak Ben Canaan, member of the Executive Committee of the Jewish Agency for Palestine.
Let's wrap it all up. As we said yesterday, we study this so that we can learn what happened, and if we do so, it will help us to ensure that it never happens again. Your generation will soon be in charge of that. Academically, it gives us a context for a respected piece of literature that we will begin reading next week, The Diary of Anne Frank. And as we read her diary story, we will use it to expand our understanding of grammar and literature. Well, what comes next? You do have a classwork assignment today in Google Classroom. At the conclusion of the video, please open your laptop, log into Google Classroom, and begin working on it. If you don't finish by the bell, please make sure that you do finish within the next 24 hours. I also need you to begin looking over these notes because we will have a quiz over them tomorrow. Again, I'm proud of you. I look forward to seeing you soon.